And we're back. Sorry for that brief interlude. No more technical issues, which is good. What we're going to be doing today is our regular weekly show. I'm excited. Let me introduce ourselves real quick. Welcome to Mixed Media. We are a weekly show happening on Fridays at 7 p.m. live. If you're watching us wherever you are, go ahead and follow us real quick. Subscribe to us if you're new to the channel, because we do this every week and we want you to have a notification from when we do go live. And what we do is we talk about anything art related, sort of media related, whether it's philosophy or reviews or current events like we'll be doing today. We do all kinds of commentary on all kinds of things. And at the end of the day, these are our opinions, but what we really love is to hear your opinions too, which is why we have a live show. So if you're in the chat, you can just chat with us at any time. Our family is nice and cozy sized, so if you chat, almost certainly we'll comment on what you are saying, what your opinion is, and we'll reply to it. So welcome to the show. So let's introduce ourselves. So my name is Irving Nestor. I'm a filmmaker and media entrepreneur. I own a company called Ariella. You can check out my website at ariella.co. It's the domain to the bottom right of the screen.
I'm Nathan. I'm a 3D modeler and a game developer.
And I'm Ben. I'm a flute player, flutist, and a media composer.
Before we start, we had a new person join our locals community. So this is thank you, Jonathan A., for joining us on our locals page. And what this locals page allows us to do is increase the production value of the show, generally we'll want to provide some cool community events down the line if we can get there. So we need your help at mixedmedia.locals.com. There's a ton of perks if you join at $5 a month. So without further ado, I believe Ben will be taking it away.
Yeah, so this is going to initially be my my news segment my piece of news for our news segment, but I decided, it's a pretty significant event in the musical world, even if it's not really a significant event in the portion of the musical world. Really, it's a significant event, even if it's not part of the portion of the musical world that I occupy, really extensive media coverage. So, I figured it would be worth just kind of talking a little bit about the tragedy at Astroworld last week. I guess it was exactly a week ago. Rap isn't my thing in general. Live concerts of that sort I've never been to anything like that. It's not my style of music. So, I'm not necessarily the best spokesperson for this kind of stuff. I'm just gonna try and compile, put together some stuff. It's all publicly out there, but just to kind of give an overview of some of the problems with this, and then, maybe if you can kind of ask what the point of live music is, because I really think this is an example of what live music should not be. And, ultimately, there are, I'm going to point to some of the, the known failures that are known at this moment by a whole bunch of people, but part of it also is just a cultural thing. And I don't know what the answer to that is. So we'll get into that. So basically what happened is, in a very general way, a crowd of about 50,000 people was at this Astroworld concert last Friday. And while Travis Scott, the headliner, was performing, a mass casualty event is how it's described technically, occurred, in which now 9 people are dead. I believe there's a 9-year-old who's still in a coma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Who brought their 9-year-olds to an Astroworld concert? What? Interesting.
Yeah, I don't understand why a 9-year-old's at a Travis Scott concert. That's kind of absurd.
I don't know. I don't know any of the details, whether, who knows. But yeah, so that's not good. I think 11 other people had to be resuscitated with CPR, which is not good. Because even if you survive immediately, having CPR performed on you does not guarantee you a very high quality of life, especially in the, immediately afterwards. You kind of have to break the person's ribs to attempt to restart their heart. Yeah, many other people were injured. The death toll just went up yesterday to 9. It was 8 prior to that, so it was, could continue to climb. These people who were in cardiac arrest. So that's a pretty significant event, and like I said, it's gotten a lot of media attention. So let's start with some of the factors that I think led to this. So number one, we have Travis Scott, the rapper, who actually, as I just learned recently, is somehow tied to the world of media music because his song "The Plan" is the theme song for Tenet.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that. Yeah. When I saw Tenet, I forgot that Travis Scott was in there. I remember that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan called it his song apparently the final piece to a year-long puzzle, whatever that means. I've not seen the movie, so I don't know. But that's our media music connection, kind of tenuous. But so he's a pretty popular rapper, I understand. I personally wouldn't know who isn't a popular rapper, but apparently he is. As concert would probably suggest, even if you didn't look that up and try and figure out based on his record sales and just general online popularity. So he's a pretty popular artist.
If you want some cultural context, like about his influence, I have disclaimer. I have not listened to a single Travis Scott album. I've heard maybe like 2 songs with Travis Scott involved. Well, 3 if you count Tenet, I guess. And those weren't even his songs. He was just featured on them. So I don't know much about Travis Scott musically. But I will say I do know about his influence from just kind of following the hip hop world. And he brought this it's hard to understate how much of a force he was in terms of like changing a lot of the sounds that are acceptable in hip hop in terms of his style. It's a very unique style. It's like psychedelic hip hop, I think, is the way that most people express Travis Scott's style. And Astroworld was like considered to be like an instant classic the moment that it came out, which I have not listened to it yet, so I can't comment on it personally, but yeah.
Okay. Well, that's more musical information than I could give you because I know very little. And what I've heard from him, it's been pretty bland, but maybe it's not bland in the world of hip hop. I don't know. So that's kind of besides the point because my opinion doesn't really matter. The opinion of all of his fans clearly is the deciding thing here. But in addition to being a very popular artist, he has a history of incidents at his concerts. So let's just review a couple of those that might, I think in a reasonable world, it should have given any concert organizer some pause before allowing this guy to perform at this venue. So the first big legal problem that he ran into was in 2015 at a concert called Lollapalooza, which I've heard of, but I don't, again, not my musical world. So that he was arrested. Okay, what the story that this is that 5 minutes into the concert, he played one song, and there are a bunch of people who were not able to get into the concert. They, for whatever reason, they were blocked by security for not having a ticket, and they were clearly on the perimeter of the concert area. And he encouraged them to ignore the security guards, use some vulgar language as well, and some vulgar gestures, and encourage them to break through the barricades and rush the stage.
Did he encourage them to steal from him? Essentially.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
That you could look at it that way. So he was warned by someone, higher up in the concert organization structure, that if he continued saying this, they would shut down the concert. He ignored them. People started rushing the stage. They shut down the concert. Within 5 minutes of its start, he fled the stage because he realized, I guess, that this is a bad thing after he'd been told he needed to not do this. He was arrested very shortly afterwards, and was, misdemeanor criminal conviction and was ordered to be supervised for a year for reckless endangerment. You'd think that might be like a wake-up call, but clearly not. He later that year in Switzerland had an incident in which he was crowd surfing during his concert, and someone, whether intentionally or unintentionally, removed his shoe. And he encouraged the crowd to attack this person for taking his shoe and personally spit on this person. So he's again, this is while he's outside of the United States, so he's not being monitored under terms of his conviction.
Didn't the concert stop too? Didn't you literally end the concert over that?
I'm not sure about that.
I could be wrong, but I don't know much about him either. But I thought I could have recalled something like that, but I could be remembering wrong.
That's very possible. We're going to get into the fact that he can stop concerts in a moment, but we're not quite there yet. So he has also gotten in trouble. So he got arrested in 2017 at, let's see, I want to make sure I remember the name of this concert, at another performance at Northwest Arkansas Festival, where he again encouraged people to overrun the security and security bearers and come into his concert. So same thing.
What I just realized? After mulling over my statement of him stealing him for himself, he's actually not, because I think usually these people get contracted by the venue a total sum of money, and so he's essentially he's encouraging people to steal from the venue, which would make sense why the venue would be mad, and I wouldn't be surprised if for some of these cases the venue is the one who's calling the police. So yeah, well, I mean, I understandable. Be fair, these also are not good things for him to do, as you can see from what happened last week. Yeah, so for that, he under his plea, he pleaded guilty again to reckless endangerment, but not any real consequence there. Again, he was sued again in 2017, not criminally, but at a concert called Terminal 5. He encouraged, I guess there's several balconies, people, like in a high-rise apartments or something, on balconies watching this concert. I don't know the exact venue, but he encouraged people who are on the balconies to jump down. I've seen video below. Of that. Yeah.
So encourage them, and saying, all your friends here will catch you. And someone ended up falling, and that person sued him, and the person claimed that he did not want to jump, and he was actually pushed by concert goers who were encouraged by this, and he felt that someone needed to help someone along in doing it. So
that's also assault on those people's behalf as well.
Yeah, but that's probably harder to determine who actually did that.
Fair.
So he was sued civilly for that, had to pay some money for that. So yes, he has a history of that. Also, 3 people were trampled at Astroworld in 2019. No one died, but clearly, Astroworld, his big homecoming concert had that potential. Okay, so I would think if you're a concert organizer, you'd want to keep this in mind about him when planning. It's probably also a good idea to consider that, this is his hometown, right? Houston is his hometown, where he's kind of viewed apparently as a kind of local celebrity, as a kind of musical hero. And it's also worth noting, now, whether, how much this is easier to see in retrospect, and how, it's questionable, but it's very apparent that a lot of young people who were attending this concert felt that they needed to make up, using some of their own words from social media, they need to make up for the fact that this concert was stolen from them last year because of COVID. I would think that, again, if you're a concert organizer, understanding a little bit about your audience, right? Young people with less sense of, fear and danger, and more sense of kind of, I'm going to enjoy life. And, you'd think that these concert organizers would have a sense of kind of people who go to events like this might predict that might be an attitude which some people would have. Again, it's pretty apparent now. You can look at all these people, and they're also sharing them, right? See all these social media posts saying they want to make up for this, year that was stolen from them. So that's clearly a factor. And I would think that, you want to anticipate something like that. So, anticipate that people are going to be perhaps even rowdier than usual. Clearly, that was not part of the calculus. Some other issues with this event. So the security agency, which is called Contemporary Services Corporation, so they have a number of issues as well. They've been fined 3 times recently by Texas Safety Board for numerous safety violations, among which are not licensed, having properly licensed security workers at such events. So they have a history of problems in Texas, at least. They do security for a lot of other things as well. I understand they are a special counterterrorism event group that has some special qualification for helping events, especially in back in, I think they're founded in response to 9/11 and ensuring protection at football games and things like that. They actually are, I'm a Washington Nationals fan. They apparently do security for the Washington Nationals as well. So, but I'm not aware of any controversies outside of Texas.
You're not an Orioles fan? What the heck?
All I could say is halfway between Baltimore and Washington. I don't know. Some other issues. So they filed their event plan only 5 days before the event, which is not standard. You're supposed to file these things much more in advance so that all the relevant municipal organizations can review them and giving their permit and understanding all the emergency action plans. So they're not really preparing for this. They are also apparently did not do a good job with hiring. They brought a lot of people in at the last second, people who were not licensed. There are interviews with people who worked for security saying that either some of them quit the day before because they didn't know what they were doing, received no training, or were just told just to follow along with what the other security guards were doing. And
this sounds like a pattern that I recognize.
Yeah. Also, the chief safety officer was not licensed to operate in the state of Texas. Safety officer for this event for them. So again, not bringing in someone who knows relevant Texas laws. So again, a really, really good mark of well-managed security. There's also a 56-page plan, which has been leaked, I guess, to CNN, I believe is leaked to first, in which they describe some other pretty disturbing things. There's as part of a contract, these security workers were told they were under no circumstances to answer to anyone from the media, including, I guess they're told that if they were asked a question by the media, to refer their questions to a non-existent employee. Okay, so that's to me, that says they understand that there's some issues and they're trying to deflect liability in the worst possible way. They're also instructed on their radio to, in case anyone wants to collect the radio data afterwards, not to refer to anyone who might die at this event as dead, but to refer to them as Smurfs.
What? Wait.
What does that mean?
Wait,
they're instructed to say that we have a Smurf in area whatever.
Oh, is this to prevent stampeding?
Oh, is that code word?
Yeah. So no. I mean, it's not clear exactly why, but I would imagine that's because they don't want anyone to overhear the fact that there are dead people.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. This is decided beforehand. So that's again an admission that this is a possibility. Okay, if they have to come up with a silly code word for dead people. Okay, so sounds like the security company is not doing its job. not only in not planning this event very, very well, like I mentioned, not taking into account some of these cultural factors, right? People feeling like this event was stolen from them and they had to make up for it, but not really counting that much for who Travis Scott is, both to the local community there and just in general what he's done, but just clearly doing a bad job at managing a concert for any concert. They also twice on the day of the tragedy denied access to the site to the district fire chief who wanted to inspect it. Why you would do that? I don't know. So again, that doesn't look good. Whether they're trying to like cover up for something or not, I don't know. I can't really speculate, but you'd think, again, that's a pretty bad sign if you can't get the district fire chief to inspect things during, on the day that this occurred. Part of that, of course, is related to, I imagine, just the fact that things were going pretty badly with this from the start. Just released the other day, I think maybe even earlier today or late yesterday, was the call logs from emergency operators here, and you can see that the first incident reported, injury needed medical attention since 6:50 a.m. That's pretty early in the day, given this concert occurs like 15 hours later. So already really heightened tension, heightened bad behavior, we'll say. Multiple instances of very shortly after the festival was open for people to come in, of the barricades being overrun by people who didn't have tickets, crushing a merchandise stand with plenty of assurances that security had things under control, despite that, and despite that being kind of a warning. If you have people overrunning barricades and crushing merchandise areas at 9:50 a.m., again, I'd think that would be a warning that things might get out of hand as you get to the big event.
Wait, quick question though. Is this just like general rowdiness, or is it just, people are just on their toes to get in and all that kind of stuff? Or is this just like, I don't know, what is the reason for it?
So, I mean, it's hard to say exactly, because when you got, large crowds of people, who knows exactly why everyone does what they do. But this is not like directly encouraged by Travis Scott. So
surprisingly not this time.
No, but I think, at least to me, that says something about the mindset of a lot of, or at least some subset of the concert going population that day.
Yeah.
And to continue to insist that things are going fine, despite, if you look at the call logs, lots of medical problems related to, all sorts of things, people fighting each other, drug overdoses. You can see a huge number already by, I think, like 60 people, having to be evacuated by 3 p.m. So again, it says something about the environment here. And that's still 6 hours before the concert.
It sounds like they're trying to recreate Woodstock or something, which might be the vibe entirely.
I mean, if you look at posts by people there, they mentioned Woodstock as. So yeah, we're kind of in that world. So by the time we get to the actual concert, okay, we have 50,000 people watching him, and he does his typical sort of thing of kind of encouraging people to rage. And not that this doesn't seem like there's needed to be a lot of encouragement for that. And it's a little hard to know the exact dynamics of what occur at that moment, because when you have 50,000 people, again, it's not one person deciding something and taking one action. So, a lot of collective actions going on at the same time. From what it sounds like, about 15 minutes in, there's a big surge towards the front of the stage, and that caused a lot of panic. Thereafter, there are increasing attempts by people to to halt the concert. If you watch videos from this, which are pretty disturbing, and you can hear all the people screaming, help, stop the concert, get medics, whatever, people climbing up to the cameraman and like trying to distract him, tell them like stop, do whatever you can to stop the concert. Clearly didn't happen. Not that I don't know exactly what the cameraman could do, but probably more than someone in the crowd. And if you look at call logs, it became apparent pretty quickly that this was a big deal. It was officially declared a mass casualty event at 9:52 p.m. and he continued performing for another 19 minutes. So nobody bothered to tell him to stop. To the point that his new spokesperson, Stephanie Rawlings Blake, who was the former mayor of Baltimore, who is lots of people are noting, as the interviewer said about her when talking to her earlier today, that she has experience with such tragic mass events. Her main experience with that would be being the mayor of Baltimore during the Freddie Gray riots.
Ah, yes, I remember that.
Yeah. So she's now serving as his spokesman. And her claim, her defense of Travis Scott here is that he had absolutely no authority or ability to stop the concert, which is absolutely ridiculous because he not only is it very easy to do that, right? All you have to do is stop playing. Okay. Yes. I mean, there are other people contractually who, higher up in the concert organization structure, who could unilaterally decide to stop things, as they did smartly those two times in 2015 and 2017 that resulted in his arrest. Clearly, no one wanted to take that kind of action here, which it clearly should have. If just, people starting to, after being encouraged to break through the barricades, people starting to do that was enough to stop the concert and get him arrested, within 5 minutes. I think something could have probably been done here. The fact that a mass casualty event was officially declared by the police and the fire department, and he continued performing for another 19 minutes. Again, somebody should have stopped something, okay? And they clearly could have. So that's, on them, I would say. But all he has to do is stop playing. And it's not outlandish for him to do that, because if you watch videos of this performance, he literally does that. At one point, they get his attention, and he sees that someone towards the front is passed out, and he stops performing and calls for the medics to come remove this person who is passed out. And then he continued with the concert. So he literally stopped the concert during this concert when he saw someone, and then continued. Okay, nice. So he literally could stop it at any point.
That being said, it is like a not normal. It's like not an uncommon occurrence for someone to pass out in the middle of a concert, and people the artist will be like, stop or whatever, and they will continue. But I feel like the problem with this case is that it wasn't fully resolved when he continued. The person wasn't already wasn't already being taken care of when he continued.
Right. But even if the situation had been resolved at that point, that just illustrates that all he had to do was stop playing, and it would have stopped. Okay. Now, again, how much he actually knew about the gravity of a situation is not clear. According to Stephanie Rawlings Blake, after the concert, he went to Dave and Buster's to unwind.
Wait. Travis Scott went to Dave and Buster's.
No way.
We have to take a moment to roast this guy real quick. Rapper Travis Scott went to Dave and Buster's after a mass casualty event to unwind. I guess to get it to play a few table games and drink some cheap beer. If you're a rapper, Travis Scott.
I'm just taking what Stephanie Rawlings Blake said today about him, and apparently he didn't learn that anything serious had happened until many hours later. And from that point on, he's been very concerned.
Wait. I don't know I don't think I buy this. only met. Okay.
No, I mean that's kind of the thing there. So I mean, it's not entirely clear exactly what he knew, at the moment. Clearly, he was aware that some medical issue that he got someone taken out for. So it's not, we can't know exactly what he was aware of at the time, but you'd think again that someone could have said something to him to tell him to stop, tell him that he had to stop, or suggest that he stop, or any of those things, if in case he wasn't aware of the issues himself. In his defense, he is offered to pay for all the funeral costs of anyone who has died, which I guess that's a good gesture. I don't know that necessarily compensates for what happened. And I'm sure he is going to be in a world of legal problems along with a whole bunch of other people here. It's looking like a potential, big class action lawsuit when you have 50,000 people. It'd be a nightmare of legal culpability and money flowing out of.
To give a different perspective, a morbid perspective, but a true perspective, a few massive law firms looked at that and were like, oh, gotta get in on this. That is actually how it works in real life. It's kind of weird, but that is how it works.
So, I don't know. Clearly, a lot of things went wrong, and you can't exactly pin blame on any one thing or one person. Again, I think a lot of the problems too, just in general, cultural with this kind of concert. Again, I've never been to one of these sort of events, but my understanding from people I know who have, and just watching videos from this, certainly, and people talking about it, it seems like a kind of environment where such things can happen because, you got a lot of people who are young people who are very excitable, lots of substances of various kinds, which are, helping encourage reckless behavior. Just the general dynamic of crowds and how that tends to work. Again, there's also the factors related to this particular thing, such as just being kind of his event, his hometown event, where he's kind of literally kind of like a cultural hero to the younger people. The cancellation of this last year, which apparently seems like some like right these people have, had been stolen from them, at least according to some people. So that, those cultural factors, clearly none of which were taken into account. No one wanted to be proactive in doing anything about stopping this, which, look, if you can stop something like Lollapalooza 5 minutes into his performance and arrest him, whether arresting him is justified or not, if you can stop the performance 5 minutes in, this could have been stopped very easily, especially at the point at which it had literally even declared a mass casualty event. Issues with security planning, issue with security staffing, obviously, also medical staffing as well, as I understand, not enough medical personnel, not enough medical gear in general, and also just apparently a lot of people felt that they couldn't even go out into the crowd to try and rescue people because they would be injured if they tried to do that. Again, which is something you probably need to account for how to get people in. I don't know. I'm not a mass event planner, but I think that's something that you want to calculate, put into your calculus beforehand. Also, make sure you have the appropriate number of medical personnel. So yeah, it's a really unfortunate event. Again, and hopefully no further deaths come from it. I guess that's sort of what happened, as much as we can kind of tell from right now and what's known. There are other reports that have been kind of shut down too. There was a report at one point about a security guard who passed out and had to be given was it Naxalone? Is that how
I have no idea.
Yeah, the antidote for heroin overdose or opioid overdose. So that fueled some speculation that people were running around and stabbing, people with needles and trying to. But that was apparently it's been disproven or at least contradicted by the police chief, who says that the person was just knocked unconscious by someone punching him in the head.
Ah,
I guess that's better.
So I was the person given the drug antidote.
Well, it seems like that's an inaccurate report.
Okay.
So at least it sounds like for now there was no one running around trying to inject people with heroin. But again, it's still not a great thing if you're going to knock out a security guard by punching him in the head. Again, just attesting to kind of nature of some people in the crowd here.
yes.
So, yeah, just kind of
Steph says it's called naloxone. Naloxone or whatever, aka Narcan.
Okay. I'm not a versed in medicine, so at least it sounds like that didn't happen. But it sounds like we can learn more. At any time, more details come out. Again, there are 50,000 witnesses to something. What they all witnessed, is different, of course.
Quick question though. So a lot of those people who died in the surge, what did they die from? I'm not sure if I caught that.
Yeah. So the official report from the coroner has not been released, but it would stand to reason that it's mostly cardiac arrest.
From what?
Crowd pressure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was that. Oh, that's crazy. I can't even imagine that. Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Okay. Yeah, thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, again, just a tragic event all around. Seems like there's a lot of blame to go around to many people. Yeah, I don't know. It just makes me question. Again, not that I really have any right to speak to this, because again, this is not the kind of musical event that I go to or know anything about. But it makes me kind of think about what the role of live music is. Is it the kind of thing that should inspire such a large group of people to have kind of uncontrolled responses and kind of go hand in hand with substance use? Again, it's going to kind of increase all of those emotions. One of the lawyers for one of the people who died said that a live music concert is supposed to quote, inspire catharsis. I suppose in a sense that's true. And I certainly think there's a role for a more active audience participation than you'd get from just going and sitting down at a classical music concert and silently listening to things. And that's kind of a tension in classical music. That's not really how classical music was presented in some places in earlier centuries, where it was more of kind of a festive atmosphere and people walking around outside and having a good time, but also paying attention to the music.
I would love a mixed media episode just on that topic. That sounds interesting.
Oh yeah, well that's the debate that we can talk about. To me, I look at this and I'm like, is this really what live music should be and it is supposed to be? I guess I personally don't see how being part of such a large crowd and are you even enjoying the music, or is it kind of is the music sort of a side benefit to what's going on?
I think there's no solution for all of it. I think that definitely depends on what concert you're going to, right? So you said, if you go to a classical music concert, it's going to be very different than an Astroworld concert. I think, for example, in a majority of rock, for example, I think part of it is the fact that it turns the performance into something that's participatory. So when normally, I say at a classical music thing, you're just watching somebody do it, which is the point is that is the point that you are there live watching someone do it live. Whereas say at a rock concert, that is maybe part of the point, but also part of the point is that you have a group of people who are like-minded, who are doing things with you, who are singing with you and stuff like that, singing along and stuff like that. So I think in concerts where there's a crowd, a standing crowd especially, that are has a lot of people, it's probably more because you're probably there more because you're participating in a group thing, I guess.
Yeah, I guess my takeaway from reading everything I've read about this is obviously address the problems like the structural things that led to this as much as you can. And there are ways that these things are supposed to be handled. There are ways they can be handled, like shutting down his concert 5 minutes in 2015. That clearly could have happened. So those things need to be fixed. But I don't know. My other takeaway from kind of learning about this and watching videos is that I feel like there's maybe a push a little bit too far in like the social participatory direction and away from kind of like the musical direction. And I think that quote of inspiring catharsis is important, but you can't allow like inspiring catharsis doesn't necessarily mean that like a large group of people lose complete control of themselves, I guess. So I feel like, I don't know, if the pendulum was maybe too far to one side, if a very sterile like classical or opera, even more, concert is on one end of the pendulum, this is the other end, and there's probably somewhere we need to meet in between, because I don't know. I mean, it's just you shouldn't go to a musical event and die for it, right? Music is great, but it's not worth dying. It's not worth killing people over.
Yeah, I was just sitting here trying to figure out what the name of the there's a Chevelle song. There's the hard rock band Chevelle that is literally about people who mosh too hard at rock concerts. I can't remember the name of the song, but if you do remember in the chat, let me know. But I've been to a few concerts. Only one of them was anything like this. In fact, one of them was a Manchester Orchestra. Well, it was the lead singer of the Manchester Orchestra, which is a band, by the way, not a literal orchestra. Soloing, and that was very chill because it was literally the most somber music for like a few hours. But we're all kind of together, like swaying along with the music. But like, I've been to a rock concert before. It wasn't the biggest. It was nothing like 50,000, maybe 1,000, maybe, and it was indoors. But you become very keenly aware of the threat, or not the threat, the danger of a crowd very quickly. Not because the particular band that I went to did not have the type of people there that would be particularly crazy or anything like that. But just the idea that if the crowd just starts running in a direction, that is extremely dangerous because everyone's in one space. And like if there's just some panic that I can't see and then other people cannot also see, then like everyone starts running and just becomes hysterical and you have no idea what could happen from that. But like one thing I being in that concert was like, there's like this weird thing that happens when it almost feels like, and this is probably what people really love about like participating in concerts. There's this like weird thing that almost feels like you like have this like spark happening with the people around you, where you all love this one thing together, and in this moment, the thing that you love is like literally right there, and the person next to you loves the thing just as much as you do, and you all know the lyrics, you all know everything, and you all know probably something about each other because you all love the thing. You know what I mean? And so when you're singing with each other, when you lock eyes with someone next to you, or like there's something that happens that feels like the group becomes like almost like, I don't want to sound like weird or anything, but like just kind of like elevates itself like as like a unit. And it's like a very unique thing that I've never experienced anywhere else besides that rock concert. But I can also see how that same feeling plus drugs particularly could create chaos very easily. So
to add on to that, while you guys were talking, I was thinking about more. I was like, yeah, why do we go to concerts like that? I think also it might have to do with like, so I was talking about how it's like the participatory thing before, but it's like normally if you're playing an instrument on your own, let's say you are the performer, you gain joy out of playing your own instrument. But for people who like music or like that kind of music, they may not have the ability to do that themselves, either because they don't have the technical skill or because they aren't good at making music, right? So being able to sing along makes you feel like you're part of the music now. Or at least that's my theory. I don't actually know. I haven't been to a concert, but my theory is that it makes you feel like a part of something that you can't be a part of otherwise because you don't have the skill to do it.
Yeah.
I suppose. I guess for me, like, that's the sort of thing that like inspires me to like inspired and continues to inspire me to, continue to get better, at least as a player. Like, I hear really awesome stuff and I'm like, I want to do that. So I'm going to like find a way to push myself to do it. But I guess that's not necessarily the kind of thing that you can easily do in some of these genres. Not that it's easy as a flute player to do that either. I have to, push myself many hours every day to attempt to get to that level. So I guess I understand that.
In any case, though, I've also watched many concerts online enough to know that it was particularly rock concerts, right? Because moshing is a cultural thing in rock. You like flinging yourselves against each other, like, and it can be quite. It is actually just straight up dangerous. I mean, just intentionally or not. Like, I mean, you have elbows flying around everywhere, and people don't have rules about this kind of thing. But one thing I've noticed, you watch these huge, like, I've actually watched Lollapalooza sort of rock concerts and stuff like that on YouTube and whatnot. And like, one thing I noticed is that quite frequently they stop the concert if the artist. I don't think it's directed by anyone. I've seen multiple times, the artist will stop and say, hey, we're all trying to have fun here, but that's not cool, because they just saw someone in a mosh pit punch someone else in the face or something like that. Or like they see people being too rough or like trying to pull people into the mosh pit that don't want to be in it. And there's just a common understanding, I think there should be, at least amongst artists, that like, let the people have fun who want to have fun at their own risk, in a way. To a certain extent, of course, you don't want to create a risky atmosphere per se. But, also like, you also should take the lead as to what you're going to accept and not accept, as to what people can do to each other. Like, I've seen people literally, like, just someone who's clearly trying to avoid the mosh pit just literally grab their shirt and drag them in. I mean, that's literally assault, So, and that should never be allowed. So yeah, it's interesting. It doesn't sound like Travis Scott is inclined in that direction at all.
No. It doesn't sound like that. I mean, even if he did stop the concert momentarily to get one person out of there, I mean, again, it just shows you that despite what his new spokesperson might say, he literally could have stopped the concert. So
yeah,
the Chevelle song, the Get Some, is not that. I looked up the lyrics to see. I was like, oh, I don't think so, and I looked up the meaning. And supposedly it's about American Idol.
Okay, sorry. My bad.
Also, one source says it's also about the time when Pete, who's the lead singer, drank too much whiskey and passed out in his front lawn. So there's that too, apparently.
Got a little Chevelle. Would recommend, by the way, Chevelle.
Yes, I would.
I'm going to assume his pockets are going to be emptied. And by the way, rappers are a lot less rich in a lot of cases. Travis Scott is probably actually rich, but, he probably isn't the kind of rich that you think he is. He's probably not. A lot of, people don't understand the tiers of rich that there are in society. And those tiers really do matter. And it also depends on how you acquired your wealth, whether you understand how to use it in a productive and renewing way. So like some people, I mean, if you were smart and you were doing things like Travis Scott was doing, you'd probably have 10,000 insurance plans over your head that also pay for themselves in other ways, that give you returns and like, a whole bunch of layers of financial tools available to you that people, I mean, frankly, I don't even, there's so many different kinds of things out there like that. But Travis Scott probably can't absorb like the kind of blow of a 50,000 people class action lawsuit, which people don't, I don't think, appreciate just how in jeopardy he is from absolutely sinking in terms of wealth. So, because he's not that kind of rich, where he can just take it, if that makes sense.
I don't want to cause no problems. I just want to live my life, but I keep on hearing about nonsense. Me and my dons ain't mobsters, but when you see imposters, we know how to read them faces, same way you know how to read them comments. If you want to talk, let's talk, but around here, make sure you're walking your talk is constant.